I'd like to start by asking a question. Have you ever noticed that while classrooms bear witness to many voices that its occupants speak, it also bears witness to silence that has an accent? That is what I hear every time I enter a classroom. While there are students who are able to speak up easily, with their words gliding out like they belong in that space, there are many others who choose to stay quiet. They do so not because they do not know what to say, but because they worry how they sound when they speak. As an educator, I sense that gap. It's a gap between wanting to be heard and the challenge of speaking. A gap that indicates hesitation, a gap where the divide begins. But when I look closely at every divide that I recognize, I also sense that it's also the same moment when and where a connection, a bridge, could be made. Now, here's what I think. True inclusion is not built through systems or slogans. It is built through everyday, small bridges that ordinary people like you and me create with courage and care. For nearly 20 years, I have taught at Mahidol University International College here in Thailand, and my classroom is a microcosm of the world. Students from Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, Burma, and other Southeast Asian countries, also from other countries in Europe, students from the US, from Canada, and from many different parts of the world, they all learn side by side. As a migration studies scholar, I study teachers who cross borders to teach. As a linguistic anthropologist, I listen to how language can make people feel either seen or invisible. And as a migrant myself, I have learned what it means to prove my worth. My research in applied linguistics, cultural studies, and education has deepened that understanding. For this work, I have been honored with the Bonifacio P. Sibayan Distinguished Professorial Chair in Applied Linguistics, appointed as Regional Advisory Committee member by SOAS Global by the University of London, recognized through leadership awards, such as a Philippine Presidential Award and Mahidol University's Outstanding Working Mother Award, among others. But you see, every recognition has reminded me of this truth. Success means little if you are standing alone on the bridge. What matters is who you're helping to cross with you. A few years ago, I wrote a paper titled, "They Are Asians Just Like Us." It told the stories of Filipino teachers working in Thai schools. One teacher I interviewed said, "We do the same job, but we are paid to represent different images." Now that line stayed with me. It revealed something that I have seen over and over again. People are often valued not for what they do, but for how they closely match someone else's image of what good sounds or looks like. Have you ever seen that happen in your own life? When someone's ideas are ignored just because their voice is softer, or maybe their accent is thicker, or their face is unfamiliar, or maybe you have felt it yourself. You know, the sense that you have to work twice as hard just to be seen equal. Now, those are the moments when divides deepen, but they're also the same moments when you can choose to start building bridges. In a book chapter that I have published with Liezl, this was just very recent, it's titled Network of Opportunity, or network of inequality, I analyzed 170 job ads for English teachers in Thailand. Now, at first glance, the job ads looked inclusive. Schools were hiring, teachers from different parts of the world. But when I look at the finer print, I found phrases like native English speakers only or European-looking preferred. Those are phenotypical requirements for teacher applicants that have nothing to do with teaching. Imagine if a school announced only students with specific accents may enroll. Would call that unfair, right? Yet, that is how opportunity often works in real life. It taught me something that goes beyond classrooms, that even opportunities can have accents. Because some doors open faster for some people, not because they're more capable, but because the world has been conditioned to trust certain voices first. And it just doesn't happen to adults. Now, to the students who are here today in this auditorium, I'd like you to think about your own class. Who gets picked as group leader every time? Who's always asked to talk, to present, and who gets overlooked, even if their ideas are equally great? That same quiet inequalities play out in small ways. And that is why inclusion must be intentional. Why? Because bridges do not build themselves. We build them plank by plank, choice by choice. But here's the good news. Inclusion works. In my classroom, I tell my students they can speak English in their own way. And they participate more. They stop apologizing, and they start sharing what they think. One student once told me, "My teacher made me proud of how I sound." That's the kind of bridge that I want to build. Not the one that crosses and erases differences, but the one that connects people. When we celebrate the way people speak, we also celebrate who they are. It boosts confidence. It allows creativity to grow. We turn classrooms into a conversation, not a competition. I once had a public speaking student. She was brilliant. She was articulate. She was deeply reflective, yet paralyzed every time she faced an audience. Her hands would tremble, her voice would falter, and her eyes would search the floor for courage. Every time she and her classmates would present a major speech, "Oh, should be gone," she would not show up in class. One afternoon, she managed to come up to me, and so I smiled at her, and I told her, "Look, no one in the class knows how nervous you are, not even me. So, I'd like you to stand tall, breathe, and fake it until you make it." And she did. Of course, not all at once, though. Little by little, speech after speech, stumble after stumble, but she began to find her voice. By semester's end, she stood at the front of the room, calm, assured, smiling, as if she had finally met the version of herself she had been chasing all along. She eventually passed my class and moved on, but I continued to carry her story with me. Because that is what educators do. We lend our belief to our students until they learn to believe in themselves. We build quiet bridges of confidence, even if they're trembling, but they do. Trembling one voice at a time. But for all of you who are sitting here today, I'd like you to remember this. Sometimes courage is not loud. Sometimes it's just staying on your feet until your voice learns how to follow. Across my research, I have realized that there is something that data cannot capture alone. Building bridges is built on small, brave moments. It's the teacher who says, "Take your time." It's the student who reaches out to someone sitting alone. The classmates who clap for someone whose voice is shaking during a presentation. These are tiny acts of courage. These are the ones that rebuild the world one gesture at a time. Now, I'd like to have a little exercise with you. I'd like you to have a quick talk with your seatmate. Yeah? Let's have a little exercise. I'd like you to ask your seatmate, have you done that to someone recently? Go ahead. Or has someone done that for you? You see, those are bridges too. Let us be honest. Bridging divides is not an easy thing to do. Prejudice can wear polite clothes. Biases can hide behind the word standard. And in my many years of teaching, in the several research projects that I have done, I have seen three kinds of gaps that appear again and again. When not everyone starts from the same place, it results in the gap of opportunity. When some accents are celebrated, yet others get corrected, it creates the gap of language. When we often assume before we start listening, we allow the gap of understanding. The good news is, these gaps are not there forever. They're only waiting for someone to notice, to care enough to act. So, how do we begin? First, notice. Notice who is left out of the conversation. Second, act. Invite that person in. Ask for their thoughts. Make space for their story. And third, advocate. Use your voice to make things fairer, even in small ways. Speak up when something does not feel right. Encourage others to do the same. Because education is not just about teaching facts. It's also about teaching belonging. And real belonging happens when we start building bridges together. I remember an independent project advisee I had last year. This was last year. Her research held so much promise that I saw in her the reflection of every young scholar who only needed a door to open. When I was invited to present in an international conference organized by my research Indonesian partners, I realized that my student's paper and her potential belonged on that stage more than mine. So I gave up my spot for her. I told her, this experience is going to change you. One day, you will thank yourself for saying yes. Of course, she hesitated a bit. She was unsure. She was unready. But of course, at the end, she trusted that bridge, and she crossed it. She presented her research beautifully, and today, she's now pursuing her graduate studies in the UK. And to Kwan Kao, in case you're watching this video, or you get to watch this video later, it is your experience that I'm sharing here today. Congratulations on the decision you made last year. Now, you see, Kwan Kao's courage reminded me that the bridges that we build as teachers are never just about lessons or grades. They are about possibilities, about turning what ifs into what is. And if you're ever given a bridge like that by your teacher, by a friend, or by even a stranger, take it. Have the courage to walk across it. Because on the other side might be the version of yourself that you have been wanting to meet. Now imagine this. If every teacher treated language as a window instead of a wall, how many worlds would open. If every student learned to listen before replying, connect before correcting, and include before assuming, how much stronger would our classrooms and our communities become? And if each of us chose every day to be both guest and host, to speak, to listen, and to let others be heard through us, what kind of world could we build? You don't need a title or a medal to bridge divides. You just need the courage to speak, to listen deeply, and to make room for someone else's story. Because the bridges that we build today will be the paths that others will walk tomorrow. And if we keep building them across languages, across generations, across genders, maybe one day there won't be divides left to cross. Only people walking together. Good afternoon. Thank you.